The Deep Space Monitoring Station on Europa hummed quietly in the eternal night of space. Tom Baker sat at his console, sipping his third cup of coffee when the first anomalous readings appeared on his screen. At first, he thought it was just another sensor glitch. They weren't uncommon this far out in the solar system. But as the numbers kept climbing, his eyes widened. "Control, this is Europa Station. We're picking up massive energy signatures near the Kuiper Belt," Tom reported, his fingers flying across the holographic display. The readings were unlike anything he'd seen in his 15 years of deep space monitoring. The response from Earth Control was immediate. "Confirm readings, Europa Station. What's the signature pattern?" "It's not matching anything in our database," Tom replied, running multiple scans. "The energy output is equivalent to several thousand fusion reactors, but it's unstable. Whatever it is, it's not natural." Within hours, Earth's Unified Space Command was fully activated. The massive defense screens across the planet lit up, and the Emergency Council gathered in the underground command center in Geneva. Admiral Wilson, a veteran of the Mars colonial wars, studied the holographic display showing the mysterious energy signatures. "Launch the Hope," he ordered. The Hope was humanity's newest and largest rescue vessel, built to handle deep space emergencies. Its captain, David James, was known throughout the fleet for his unconventional but effective approaches to crisis situations. As the Hope accelerated towards the anomaly, its sensors began picking up more detailed readings. Captain James stood on the bridge, his experienced eyes narrowing as the data streamed in. "Those are ships," he announced to his crew. "Hundreds of them. And they're in trouble." The alien fleet materialized fully in their sensors, a massive collection of vessels, many of them showing severe damage. Their designs were completely foreign, with sweeping organic curves that seemed to defy conventional engineering. But what caught everyone's attention were the radiation warnings flashing across their screens. "Their power cores are heavily damaged," reported Lisa, the Hope's chief engineer. "Those radiation levels, they must have thousands of casualties already." The first transmission from the alien fleet came on all frequencies, a desperate plea that the ship's AI took several minutes to decode. "Help. Critical failure. Civilians. Please." Captain James didn't hesitate. "This is Captain David James of the Earth vessel Hope. We are approaching to render assistance. Please maintain your positions." The response came in clearer this time, the alien eye apparently learning from the communication. "Earth vessel, we have 50,000 civilians. Core breach imminent. No defense capabilities. Please help." James activated the ship-wide comm. "All hands. This is the captain. What we're about to do has never been done before. We're about to make humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and they need our help. I know we're not sinologists or diplomats, but we are rescue workers. This is what we trained for. Let's show them what humanity can do." The Hope's massive floodlights illuminated the nearest alien vessel, revealing its true scale. It was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the largest Earth ship. Its hull showed signs of weapons damage, and through the gaps, they could see internal fires and emergency containment fields flickering. "Launch rescue shuttles," James ordered. "Medical teams on standby. Engineering, start analyzing their core signatures. We need to find a way to stabilize those radiation leaks." As the Hope moved closer, they got their first visual of the aliens through the emergency broadcasts. They were tall, with features that seemed both familiar and utterly alien at the same time. Their eyes showed fear, desperation, and then something else as they realized help had actually arrived. "Hope. Your species," the alien commander transmitted. "You came to help without knowing us. Without demands. Without fear. That's what humans do," James replied simply. "We help those in need. Now, let's save your people." As the rescue operations began, none of them knew they were making history. This wasn't just first contact. It was humanity's first step onto the galactic stage. And they were making that step not through war or trade or diplomacy, but through an act of compassion that would reshape their place in the cosmos forever. The stars watched silently as the Hope's rescue shuttles launched, carrying teams of humans ready to risk their lives to save an alien species they had never met. The greatest rescue operation in human history had begun. The meeting chamber aboard the Hope was hastily converted for the first official briefing between human and alien leadership. Captain James sat across from the alien fleet commander, who introduced himself as Commander First. The translator AI worked overtime to handle a complex exchange. "We were attacked without warning," Commander First explained, his multifaceted eyes dimming with what James recognized as grief. "The swarm found us near our colony worlds. They do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They only consume." The holographic display between them showed the extent of the damage to the refugee fleet. Red warning indicators covered nearly every ship, with critical alerts flashing over the largest vessels. "Our civilian ships were never meant for extended space travel," First continued. "When the swarm attacked, we loaded as many of our people as we could and jumped blindly through space. The emergency jump damaged our cores beyond our ability to repair." Lisa, the Hope's chief engineer, studied the alien ship's schematics with growing concern. "Their power generation is completely different from ours," she reported. "They use some kind of crystalline matrix that's now destabilized. The radiation it's producing, I've never seen anything like it." "How many civilians?" James asked, though he dreaded the answer. 53,412, First replied precisely. "Many are children. We have lost 2,000 already to radiation exposure." The commander's outer membrane rippled with what the humans were learning to recognize as deep distress. "We did not expect any species to answer our call. Most civilizations we know would have destroyed us on sight, seeing us as a burden or threat." James leaned forward. "That's not how we do things, but I need you to understand the situation fully. Our initial scans show you have maybe 72 hours before the core breaches become irreversible. We're looking at a cascade failure that could affect the entire fleet." The alien commander's translator crackled as he responded. "We are aware. We had accepted our fate before you arrived. That you would even try to help us. It defies everything we believed about emerging spacefaring races." The briefing was interrupted by an urgent message from one of the refugee ships. The holographic display shifted to show a massive crack developing in one of the vessel's containment chambers. Emergency force fields were failing. "That ship has 8,000 civilians aboard," First said, his voice carrying the weight of command even through the translator. "If the containment fails completely—" "Not going to happen," James interrupted. He activated his comm link. "All rescue teams, priority shift to Refugee Vessel 5. I want those civilians evacuated now. Engineering, get me solutions for emergency containment." The next hours were a blur of activity. Human rescue shuttles darted between the massive alien ships like worker bees, while engineering teams in radiation suits worked to understand and stabilize the alien technology. The Hope's medical bay was quickly overwhelmed with radiation casualties, forcing the medical team to learn alien physiology on the fly. "Their bodies process radiation differently than ours," Dr. Miller reported during the emergency staff meeting. "But they're also more vulnerable to certain types of exposure. We're adapting our treatments, but we need more time." "Time is the one thing we don't have," Lisa added, pointing to the latest sensor readings. "The crystalline matrices are degrading faster than we predicted. When they go, they'll take everything within 1,000 kilometers with them." James studied the reports, his mind racing through options. They needed more ships, more resources, more everything. He opened a channel to Earth Command. "Admiral Wilson, the situation is critical. We need everything you can send us. And sir, we need it yesterday." The Admiral's response was immediate. "You'll have it, Captain. Every ship we can fuel is heading your way. The Mars colonies are sending their emergency fleet. Even the mining corporations are contributing vessels. As James looked out at the massive alien fleet, he could see the fear in every flickering light, every emergency beacon. These people had fled their homes, survived an attack by an unknown enemy, and now faced death by their own failing technology. "We'll save them," he said, more to himself than anyone else. "We have to." The crisis was far from over, but humanity had made its choice. They would not stand by and watch a species die, no matter the cost. The real question was, would their best be enough? Earth's response to the crisis was unlike anything in human history. Within 24 hours of Captain James's emergency call, the entire planet mobilized. Space stations originally designed for tourism and research were rapidly converting their facilities into refugee centers. Ships from every nation and corporation were breaking orbit, loaded with supplies and rescue teams. Admiral Wilson stood in the Geneva Command Center, watching the massive operation unfold on the global display. "Look at this," he said to his staff, gesturing at the screen. 6 hours ago, these corporations were competitors. Now they're sharing resources and technology like they've been allies for years. The Mars Colonial Fleet, renowned for their expertise in harsh environments, was the first reinforcement to reach the Hope. Their specialized ships carried advanced radiation containment equipment normally used in the Martian core drilling operations. "We've modified our mining shields," explained Captain Rodriguez of the Mars vessel Red Dawn. "They weren't designed for this type of radiation, but we're adapting them as we go. The real challenge is scale. We've never had to shield something this big before." Meanwhile, on Earth, the scientific community was working around the clock. Research facilities worldwide focused on a single goal: understanding and containing the alien ship's failing core technology. Quantum computers processed massive amounts of data, trying to model the crystal matrix decay. "It's beautiful in a terrifying way," Dr. Park said, studying the crystal structure models in her lab. "Their technology took a completely different path than ours. They harnessed energy through crystalline resonance while we split atoms. But now that resonance is breaking down." In orbit, massive space stations underwent dramatic transformations. The luxury rings of Paradise Station, once home to wealthy tourists, were now filled with emergency medical equipment. Hotel rooms were converted into quarantine zones, their environmental systems reprogrammed to handle alien biology. On the ground, humanity's response was equally impressive. When word spread about the refugees, people worldwide volunteered to help. Manufacturing plants switched their production lines to create specialized equipment. Universities opened their laboratories and research facilities. Back at the crisis zone, the Hope coordinated the growing rescue fleet. James watched as ships from Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies arrived in waves. Each vessel brought new resources, new ideas, and new hope. "The Russians have modified their ice mining platforms into radiation scrubbers," Lisa reported. "The Chinese are sending up orbital construction platforms to build temporary containment shells. The Europeans have repurposed their solar shield technology for radiation defense." Commander First observed the human activity with growing amazement. "Your people," he said to James, "they come from different territories, different authorities. Yet they work as one. How is this possible?" James smiled. "This is humanity at its best. When there's a crisis, when lives are at stake, we put aside our differences. We've had plenty of practice. Earthquakes, floods, nuclear disasters. We learned long ago that we're stronger together." The alien commander watched as another wave of Earth ships arrived. "In our experience, most species guard their technology, their resources. They see sharing as weakness. Yet your people freely give everything they have to help strangers. That's because we know something most of your species seem to have forgotten," James replied. "The universe is too big, too dangerous to face alone. Today we help you. Tomorrow we might need your help. That's how civilization survives." A sudden alarm interrupted their conversation. One of the refugee ships was showing critical readings. But before James could even issue orders, 3 Earth vessels were already moving to respond. He watched as human rescue teams, working alongside alien crew members, rushed to stabilize the situation. This was more than a rescue mission now. It was becoming something else, a moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. They weren't just saving lives. They were showing what humans could do when they worked together. As another fleet of ships broke orbit from Earth, carrying more supplies and volunteers, James realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. This crisis was bringing out humanity's greatest strengths: their adaptability, their creativity, and most importantly, their unity in the face of disaster. The stars themselves seemed to watch as humanity wrote its first chapter in galactic history, not with weapons or conquest, but with open hands and willing hearts. The warning sirens blared across the entire rescue fleet. Lysa's voice cut through the chaos on the Hope's bridge. "Captain, we've got cascading failures in the refugee ship's containment systems. They're failing faster than our models predicted." James watched as red warning indicators spread across the holographic display like a virus. The radiation levels from the damaged crystal cores were spiking beyond anything they'd seen before. "Get me Commander first," James ordered, his fingers gripping the command chair. The alien commander's image appeared on screen, his outer membrane showing signs of severe stress. "We're losing control of the matrices," First reported, his translator barely keeping up with his rapid speech. "The resonance patterns are collapsing. We have minutes, not hours." Lisa rushed onto the bridge, her engineering uniform stained with coolant. "Captain, I think I know what's happening. The crystal cores aren't just failing. They're feeding off each other. Each failure is accelerating the decay in nearby ships." James made a decision that would either save thousands or doom them all. "All rescue ships, this is Captain James. Execute Emergency Protocol Delta. We're going to tow these ships apart, break the feedback loop." The human fleet sprang into action. Massive towing cables shot out from rescue vessels, attaching to the huge alien ships. Engineering teams worked frantically to reinforce the cables, knowing they were never designed to move something this large. "The structural stress on those cables will tear our ships apart," someone shouted over the comm. "Better our ships than 50,000 lives," James responded. "All ships, full power to towing engines on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Pull." The space around them lit up as hundreds of engines fired at maximum power. The giant refugee ships groaned and creaked as they began to move. Slowly, agonizingly, the distance between them started to grow. "It's working," Lisa exclaimed, watching the radiation readings. "The feedback loop is weakening." But her voice trailed off as new alarms sounded. One of the towing cables snapped with the force of a bomb, whipping through space and slicing through a nearby rescue ship. The damaged vessel spun out of control, its crew desperately trying to stabilize it. "We need more power," James shouted. "Divert everything. Life support, weapons, everything except basic gravity and emergency systems." Commander First's voice came through the chaos. "Our engineering teams are attempting to help. We're sending power from our emergency reserves to your towing ships." The combined effort of human and alien technology began to show results. The massive refugee ships slowly drifted apart, their deadly radiation feedback weakening. But they weren't safe yet. "New problem," Lisa called out. "The radiation surge has damaged our shielding. We've got teams exposed in sectors 7 through 12. James watched in horror as radiation warnings flashed across multiple decks of his ship. Both human and alien rescue workers were trapped in the affected areas. "Get them out of there," he ordered. But before human rescue teams could respond, something unexpected happened. A group of alien engineers, their bodies more resistant to certain types of radiation, volunteered to rescue the trapped humans. They moved through the dangerous zones, carrying injured human workers to safety, even as the radiation took its toll on their own bodies. "Why?" James asked First later, after the immediate crisis had passed. "Why did your people risk themselves for our crews?" The alien commander's response was simple. Because your people did the same for us without hesitation. As the emergency teams finally managed to stabilize the separated ships, James looked out at the scattered fleet. The crisis had nearly killed them all, but it had also shown something remarkable. Two species, completely unknown to each other days ago, working together, risking their lives for each other. The casualty reports started coming in. They'd lost good people, both human and alien, but they'd saved thousands more, and in doing so, perhaps they'd found something even more valuable: trust. Lisa approached James, her face tired but determined. "The cores are stabilized for now, Captain, but we're not out of danger yet. We need a permanent solution, and we need it fast." James nodded, knowing that their hardest challenges still lay ahead. They'd won this battle against time, but the war for survival was far from over. As engineering teams worked to stabilize the remaining ships, something unexpected began to happen throughout the rescue fleet. What started as necessary cooperation between species was evolving into genuine curiosity and friendship. In the Hope's converted cargo bay, now serving as a temporary shelter, human Dr. Robert watched in fascination as an alien child showed him how their educational devices worked. The device projected complex mathematical equations that the child solved by manipulating light patterns with their appendages. "Remarkable," Robert muttered, taking notes. "Their children learn quantum mechanics before basic arithmetic. Their minds process information completely differently from ours." Nearby, a group of alien adults gathered around Chief Cook Mike's makeshift kitchen station, where he was preparing Earth meals for the human crew. The aliens were captivated by the concept of cooking food, as their species absorbed nutrients directly from processed mineral solutions. "You mean you combine different substances, apply heat, and create new flavors purely for enjoyment?" one of them asked through the translator. "This is art with sustenance." Mike grinned, flipping a pancake with practiced ease. "Wait until I show you what we call dessert." In the engineering section, Lisa worked alongside alien technicians, both sides learning from each other's approaches to technology. The aliens were amazed by human improvisation and creative problem-solving, while humans marveled at the elegant efficiency of alien crystal technology. "Your species builds machines like artists," an alien engineer commented, studying the human repair drone. "Each solution unique, adaptable. We would have standardized everything, losing potential innovations in the process." Lisa picked up one of their crystal tools, watching it respond to her bioelectric field. "And your technology is like living poetry. We would have never thought to grow our machines instead of building them." Commander First and Captain James stood on the Hope's observation deck, watching the ongoing rescue operations. Below them, human and alien children played together, inventing games that bridged their physical differences. "Your people surprise us daily," First said. "We had detected your radio signals, studied your broadcasts. We saw your conflicts, your divisions. We thought you were too young, too fragmented to be approached." James watched as a human technician helped an alien family set up their living space, both sides laughing at their attempts to communicate through gestures when the translator glitched. "We are young," James admitted. "And yes, we fight among ourselves. But that's part of who we are. We argue, we compete, we make mistakes. But we also learn, adapt, and grow. Most importantly, we never stop trying to be better." In the medical bay, human and alien doctors worked together, discovering that their different approaches to healing complemented each other perfectly. The aliens' understanding of energy fields helped improve human radiation treatments, while human surgical techniques helped save alien lives. "Their bodies can regenerate damage we thought impossible to repair," Dr. Miller reported excitedly. "And our pain management techniques work better than anything they've developed. Together, we're rewriting both our medical books." The cultural exchange wasn't limited to the rescue fleet. Back on Earth, news of the alien refugees had sparked a global renaissance of art, music, and literature. Human creators were inspired by the new perspectives and possibilities that alien contact brought. An alien artist, recovering in Paradise Station's medical ward, created a stunning light sculpture that captured the moment their fleet first saw the Hope approaching. The piece became an instant symbol of the rescue operation, representing hope and unity across species. "We had forgotten," Commander first told James, studying the artwork. "In our long history, we had forgotten what it meant to meet new friends instead of new competitors or enemies. Your people reminded us." As the day cycle ended on the Hope, James made his usual rounds through the ship. He saw human crews learning alien games of logic and strategy. He watched alien families sharing their traditional light songs with fascinated human audiences. In every corner, barriers were breaking down, replaced by bridges of understanding. What had started as a desperate rescue mission was becoming something more, a testament to the power of compassion and curiosity to overcome any differences. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity. Looking out at the stars, James smiled. They still had enormous challenges ahead, but they would face them together, stronger for their differences, united in their shared humanity, whatever form that humanity took. Lisa burst into the command center, her eyes bright with excitement. "Captain, we've done it." She slammed a crystal data pad onto the briefing table, where human and alien leaders had gathered for their daily crisis meeting. "Done what, exactly?" James asked, leaning forward to study the complex diagrams swirling on the display. "We've cracked the crystal matrix code," she explained, her hands moving animatedly. "The alien engineers and our quantum computing team finally figured out how to stabilize the degrading cores. But it's better than that. We've actually improved the original design." Commander First's outer membrane rippled with what humans now recognized as intense interest. "Improved? Our civilization has used this technology for 1,000 years. How could you possibly?" "By thinking differently," Lisa interrupted, bringing up a holographic model. "Your crystals work on perfect resonance patterns, right? But we humans, we're messy. We like redundancy, backup systems, controlled chaos. We took your elegant design and made it, well, more human." The technical teams demonstrated their solution by introducing controlled imperfections into the crystal matrices, something the aliens would never have considered. They created multiple redundant energy pathways. If one pathway failed, the others would automatically compensate. "It's like jazz music," Lisa tried to explain to the bewildered alien engineers. "The beauty isn't in the perfect pattern, but in the improvisation, the control disorder." The first test of the new system exceeded all expectations. The modified crystal core not only stabilized but showed a 30% increase in efficiency. More importantly, it was practically impossible to suffer a catastrophic failure. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, another breakthrough was unfolding. Dr. Miller had discovered that a combination of human regenerative therapy and alien energy healing could reverse most of the radiation damage suffered by both species. "The first treated patients are already showing significant improvement," he reported, displaying the medical scans. "We're seeing tissue regeneration rates that were previously thought impossible." Commander First stood silently for a long moment, studying the reports. When he finally spoke, his translator couldn't quite capture the emotion in his voice. "In our arrogance, we dismissed your species as primitive," he said. "We saw your short history, your constant conflicts, your seemingly chaotic approach to everything. We were wrong. So very wrong." The mood in the command center shifted as long-range sensors picked up an alert. The AI's voice was calm, but urgent. Multiple signatures detected at the edge of the system. Pattern match. Swarm vessels. The room fell silent. The same enemy that had driven the alien fleet to Earth had followed them. But instead of panic, James noticed something different in the alien leader's posture: determination. "We ran from them before," First said, his outer membrane now a deep, resolute color. "We had no choice. But now," he turned to James, "your people have shown us a different way. If you will stand with us." James didn't hesitate. "We didn't save your people just to abandon you now. Earth Command has already approved full military support if needed. He smiled grimly. Besides, we've learned a few things about your technology. I think the swarm is in for a surprise. The next hours were a flurry of activity. The modified crystal cores were installed in key vessels. Human tactical systems were integrated with alien defense grids. Two species working together, preparing to face a common enemy. In the midst of the preparations, Lisa approached James privately. "Captain, there's something else. The efficiency improvements we made to their technology. If we applied the same principles to our own systems." James understood the implications. This crisis hadn't just saved lives. It had advanced both human and alien technology by decades, maybe centuries. Commander first joined them at the observation window. Together, they watched human and alien ships moving in perfect coordination, preparing defensive positions. Perhaps this was always meant to be. First mused. Perhaps we needed to learn from each other to face what's coming. James nodded. The swarm was approaching, but they weren't facing a desperate refugee fleet this time. They would face two civilizations united, each made stronger by the other's presence. The turning point wasn't just in the technology or the medical breakthroughs. It was in the realization that the greatest strength of any species lay not in perfection, but in the ability to learn, adapt, and grow together. The combined human-alien fleet formed a defensive line at the edge of the solar system. Ships from both civilizations moved in perfect harmony, their crews working together as if they'd trained for years instead of days. "Swarm vessels entering sensor range," announced the Hope's Eye. Estimated time to contact: 15 minutes. James stood on the bridge, watching tactical displays showing the approaching threat. The swarm ships were unlike anything humans had seen before, organic-looking vessels that moved like a coordinated school of fish. "They don't communicate," Commander first explained, standing beside James. "They don't negotiate. They simply consume and move on. We thought them unstoppable." "Everything is stoppable," James replied. "You just need to find the right way." He opened a channel to the combined fleet. "All ships, this is Captain James. Remember the plan. Let them come to us." The modified crystal cores hummed throughout the fleet, their new hybrid technology giving off a soft, pulsing glow. Human ingenuity and alien precision had created something entirely new: weapons and shields that combined the best of both civilizations. "Swarm vessels accelerating," the AI reported. "They're launching their first wave." The attack began exactly as First had described. The swarm ships moved as one massive organism, attempting to overwhelm their targets through sheer numbers and coordination. But this time, something was different. "Now," James ordered. The human ships broke formation in seemingly random patterns, their apparent chaos masking a carefully planned strategy. The alien vessels maintained their precise formations, creating the perfect balance of order and unpredictability. The swarm, programmed to counter organized resistance, found itself unable to adapt to this new hybrid tactics. Where they expected rigid patterns, they found fluid movement. Where they anticipated chaos, they met precise, coordinated strikes. Lisa's voice came over the comm from engineering. "The new cores are performing better than expected, Captain. The controlled chaos principle is actually strengthening the energy fields." Throughout the battle, human and alien crews worked seamlessly together. Human tactical officers directed alien weapons with incredible precision, while alien navigators guided human ships through maneuvers that should have been impossible. "They're trying to regroup," First observed as the swarm ships pulled back. "This is new. We've never seen them retreat before." James allowed himself a small smile. "That's because they've never faced anything like us before. All ships, execute pattern Delta 7. The combined fleet moved as one. Human ships darted between the larger alien vessels, drawing swarm units into carefully planned killing zones. The modified crystal technology created overlapping energy fields that trapped and destroyed the enemy ships. From Earth, Admiral Wilson watched the battle unfold with pride. "Look at that," he said to his staff. A week ago, we'd never met an alien species. Now we're fighting alongside them, like we've been allies forever. The swarm made one final desperate push. A massive wave of ships charged directly at the fleet's center, hoping to break through by sheer force. All ships, James called out. Show them what unity really means. Every vessel in the combined fleet fired at once. Human plasma weapons merged with alien crystal beams, creating a wall of energy that no force could penetrate. The swarm formation shattered, broken ships spinning off into the void. The remaining swarm vessels retreated, vanishing into deep space. For the first time in their history, they had been decisively defeated. As the cheers and celebrations erupted throughout the fleet, Commander First turned to James. Your people never ceased to amaze us. You took in refugees, solved problems we thought unsolvable, and helped us defeat an enemy we thought invincible, all in the span of a few days. James shook his head. We didn't do it alone. This victory belongs to both our peoples. This is just the beginning of what we can accomplish together. The view from the Hope's Bridge showed Earth in the distance, a blue jewel in the darkness. Around it, human and alien ships moved together in a new dance of cooperation and friendship. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not through conquest or competition, but through compassion and cooperation. They had proven that the greatest power in the galaxy wasn't technology or weapons, but the ability to reach out and help others in their time of need. As the fleet began its journey home, James knew that the universe would never be the same. And that was exactly as it should be. The end.